Thank you and welcome to our session number 12, which is Dynamic 365 Configuration and Customization Development Series Part 2. And in this particular session, we are going to cover the development basics. And this is what the Wahaj, he's going to demonstrate some of the main, you can say, elements which are required in order to do any customization or any kind of the configuration, which is, you can say, necessary part. We are going to look into it. Before we are going to proceed further, small stuff related to the housekeeping. If you have any question, please feel free to put your questions in the chat box, or you can use the QA section, or you can unmute yourself by the time that you are going to speak. And once again, really appreciate for your time and the cooperation. You can use the QA section if you like to ask any question, or if any question is going to unattended, we will cover in our next session. And related to the content sharing, all of our previous sessions, which means the recorded sessions, they are available on our YouTube channel. You can watch all the previous, you can say, topics on the YouTube, as well as all the presentations are available on our OneDrive folder. So related to the agenda, and from here I will request Wahaj to just proceed with the agenda, what we are going to discuss today, and I will be only on the listening mode, and by the time Wahaj will explain, I'll just put some of the input in between. Yes, Wahaj, please. If you can share your
Thank
screen
you.
and we can start from there.
Yes, I'll share my screen and you guys let me know if you can see it. Okay.
Yes, now
You can
it's
see the
visible.
planet 9, right?
Yes, we are going to
Okay.
planet 9 of
Yeah, but
Dynamics
we still did
365.
not find planet 9. Okay. So today's session is all about solutions. We'll talk about what are solutions, what kind of components we can add to the solution. Okay, then modeling and schema, which means what kind of database models and schema we have in Dynamics 365 or Power Platform Dataverse. And then tables, we'll talk about what how we can create tables and fields, and then forms and views. So when I say tables and fields, I believe because you already have at least some level of expertise or development knowledge, or at least you know what is a database table or field. So I won't go into the exact definitions, but I'll show you how these things works in Dynamics 365 and Power Apps and Dataverse. So if you have any basic question also, feel free to stop me and ask. Okay. So first, before okay, first I wanted to write down you what kind of solutions we have, fields we have, tables we have on the slides. Then I thought I don't think so that might help, and you may not provide that much attention to that. So I thought let me create some scenarios, and we'll implement the scenarios. And while we are working on the scenarios, I will explain each bit, and you will understand better. So again, stop me at any time if you want to. Okay. So the first scenario is very simple, where sales team needs to capture Duns number. It's a unique number, or which there is a organization called DNB, Duns and Bradstreet, I guess. Sorry, I'm missing the first name. So they have a database of companies, and they have list of contacts. It's a you could say data provider. So they sales team wants to map the Duns number so they can maybe relate it with their data. So it's just a text field they want. So what they're saying is, so what they want is user must able to select the formation date when the company was formed, and then there should be a radio button if that is on. So a dunce number field will be unlocked where they can capture the dunce number. That's it. Okay. So the basic solution to design, what we do is it's very simple. And most of the applications will do the same. They will add a fields first of all, formation date, and then some kind of flag to work on the radio button, and then the actual dunce number field, or any other field, right? So that's our scenario number one. Okay. Before we jump into the system and start adding these features, what uh, okay, what we'll do is, first of all, we'll just look into one more slide, which is solutions. So what are solutions? So this is basics, and we need to understand about solutions something. So solutions are a way to package the components that we are working on. So you can say tables, attributes, forms, whatever component that make up a process or overall uh, package is called solution. So what we can do, if you look at this, we have uh, what we can add in the solution components. We can add the schemas, tables, entities or tables, it's the same thing. Attributes or fields, it's again same. Relationships, then option sets mean lists or drop down lists, you could say. Then related to user interface, we can add the buttons which are shown on the top bar, or we call it ribbon. Like in Office and Outlook we have ribbon, we have in ribbon in Dynamics 365 where we have all the actions or buttons available. Then we can change the sitemap. Sitemap means where we have different sections and areas of the our application from which user navigates. And then we have forms. Then again ribbons, but it could be entity level ribbons also. And then some web resources. We'll talk about web resources later. Similarly, dashboards, reports, or visualization parts of analytics, you can add it to the solution. Then codes using and some processes like workflows and all you can add. Templates you can add, and security components you can also add. So we'll cover these all in detail. So what I'm trying to say is this is how we package. Let's say for our scenario number one, I'll go back. If you see, we need to do what? We need to add maybe three fields, then modify the form, and that's all. Actually, there is one more thing we need to do, like we need to add a business rule. Based on that, we need to show the runs number field. So that is something we need to do. All of these components that we will modify or will add, we can package it in a solution like we do in a Visual Studio project or a Java project or somewhere. And then that is this package that we will export and import in another system, like our from our development to staging or production or anywhere else. So that's something, that's the basics of solutions. There are other things also regarding solutions. There are many features, especially there are two types of solutions, one is managed and one is unmanaged. For now, just understand that managed solution is something that is you could say redistributable package that can be more of a plug and play or installable package you can use. Unmanaged is something which is still not released. So when we start to development, we create an unmanaged solution. Then we export it as a managed solution to install it on the production or staging environment. The one important difference is managed solution, once you remove it, it removes all the components or changes with it. It's a layer on top of your default solution. There is something called default solution, which is your out of the box system. So it adds a layer on top of the other. On the other hand, unmanaged solution is just a container. It does not create any layer, or it will, once you uninstall it, it will just remove the solution itself, but the actual components will still be part of the system. So for development, just for now, you need to remember we create an unmanaged solution, and then for production or staging, we usually create managed solutions. It's a distributable package. Okay. So now once we know the solution, let's do one thing. Simply go to the last time I told you about the Power App Studio, or we call it make.powerapps.com. Once you are here, you need to make sure you have selected the environment for Dynamics 365, because I told you by default there is a environment which won't have maybe enabled Dynamics 365 apps or Dataverse. But again, this is something related to deployments and infrastructure, or so environment is something we'll also cover and another time. But for now, let's focus. Let's say we assume we are in the correct environment, and what we need to do is, we on the left hand side we see a data tab. Data tabs gives us all the tables, and the choices means, or your drop down list. Then data flows for integration, and this is data lake link. There are some connections you can do create, so you can use these connections in the processes. But again, today's session, let's only talk about tables and fields and forms and views. Okay. So last time also we explored when we go to the table, we see list of all the tables here. Okay. One quick tip, sometimes you won't find a table. For example, we have way more than this table. These are maybe, I don't know, 10, 20, not more than that. But if you don't find any table you are looking for, okay, I will use the same terms interchangeably. Entity and table is the same thing in this particular platform. So previously we were used to call it entity, now we call it a table. Okay. So you see this drop down, you can see say all, it will show you all of the entities or tables available here. You see it's a huge list. Okay. So Microsoft has given you, just small list, so you don't just a default or out of the box entities. Okay. Then custom is something which once you start creating your own tables, you will easily find it. It's a way to filter. Or the other way is, of course, you can search right here. If you want, you can search lead. Here it is. Okay. Okay. So first change that we said we'll do on the customer, will add the dunce number field and the formation date. So for that, we see we have an account uh, uh, table. So I click on, because if you remember from our sales sessions, so we are storing our customers in account entity. Okay, so for by default it shows all the columns, or again columns are free and fields are interchangeable terminologies. So I'm going to use columns here. Okay, so these are the existing columns. With existing columns, what we can do is we can go ahead and change some of the properties, not much. Okay, then there are I would say two types you will mostly see here. If I say of columns. One is the managed, the other is standard. Again, managed and unmanaged means the managed is something which came through a managed solution, or why we call it managed, because the solution provider, let's say I'm a developer or a company who works for a customer, and I've developed a solution and distributed a managed solution. So I can choose some managed properties, like for example they can change this field or not, they can change this particular view or form or not. Why we do this? Let's say if I create a product and I don't want to change, allow the user to change it, or any other developer power user to change it, so I will distribute it as managed. So managed column is something which comes as part of the managed solution. Standard is something which is part of the standard Dataverse platform. Even if you have not just taken a Dataverse environment and you have not installed an MS365, so you will only get standard. Okay. Now again, don't get confused on these fields. I'm just explaining. You will learn a lot about it. Don't worry. Okay. To see properties of field, I sort it by display name. Okay. One primary thing we need to understand, even in database, is same as any database table. You always have a primary key for a table, right? In most cases. So primary key is something where you which identifies a record uniquely and that cannot be duplicated, that particular value. So in each table we have an ID field, like account. Here is an account ID. We have a GUID, global unique identifier. Okay. So GUID, you do not generate this value. This value is automatically generated by the Dynamics 365 or Dataverse platform. So once you create a record, this value will be auto populated. You do not need to do or fill this unique identifier. Okay. So even when you create a custom table, you will see this unique ID will be created for you. Of course, the name will be changed based on your table name, but it will be there. Then another type of column is there, which we known as primary name column. This will also be there. So whenever you create a table, there will be two fields automatically created. There are other fields also, but as far as we see in terms of uniqueness or usage, account ID will be the GUID, which is the primary key. Then we will have a text field, always text field, as a primary name column. Why this is called primary name column? If I go into this opportunity, let's say, and I see, okay, just 1 second, guys. Let me go to opportunity. I'll open. So this, the name is the value, this one actually. you see of this account. This is the primary field of a table which will become kind of a link. So once you click it, it will take you to the actual record. So for you to make it user friendly, Microsoft do not show the GUID, which is not readable. I mean, you can't memorize it. It doesn't look nice. It's just used internally. So to on the front end, they always show the primary column. It could be anything, but always a text field. So primary column can be only one in one table. So this will be again already automatically created for you. We'll see this once we create a table in this today's session. Okay. So for now, just understand that these two columns are there. And as I said, some of the fields you cannot modify. You cannot change the unique identifier. You cannot change the primary uh, field. You cannot delete it. It must be there. Only thing you can play with is some length. This is the length of text or characters that will be stored in this particular column. And if you there are some more settings again, uh, just to show that we can change the requirement level of this one. Okay, what is the data type? We can not change this. It is just shown here, and we can control some flags whether it is searchable or it is will be audited. Auditing means whenever we change the value, the system will log it from the old value and the new value. Okay, and then for some dashboard settings we have. For now, let's skip it. Okay, so before we do anything else, let's add a new field. What we do is we click on add column. It will ask you to simply uh, provide us display name. This is the label that will user see. So what we call it dunce number. Or let's do one thing. I'm just creating random field for now, just to show you. So I say this is an open text field, just a name. It could be any name. You see this one is a prefix that we'll discuss right now once I create a solution. This is a prefix of the solution provider. So any field a particular solution provider creates, it will have its own prefix. You can change this. Okay, so this is the label. This is the actual field name, or you could say database field name that will be created for it. So whenever you want to programmatically access this field, you have to refer to this field, not the display name. So this is just a wrapper for user to make it user friendly. This is the actual field name that you will use in the web services, in your queries, and anywhere programmatically. Okay. The next important field is the data type. We have lots of data type. So all of these data type map to each of the SQL Server data type, SQL Server tables data type. So text is just a text. It's a varchar field if you know. Okay. Then text area, again it's a text, but it is created as multi-line text box, you could say, but it's a string again. Okay, email, it's a text field, but what they do is it is automatically formatted as an email, and once user click it, it will also open it, so you can send the email. So it's a special type, but again backend is text. Okay, so you can see this is actually all comes under text fields, text category. So backend it will be varchar or nvarchar. Uh, nvarchar, if you guys know, is the field where it's a data type where you can store the Unicode also. Okay, I mean Arabic characters and other languages which are not part of the normal ASCII. Okay, so again URL, you can, this will be formatted as URL, but it's a text field. Ticker symbol, it's a special type you see in the stock it is being used. Like Apple has a ticker. Every company who registered in the stock market will have a ticker symbol. And then phone will be formatted as phone number. And auto number is some special type which will it's like a whenever you save a record, it can generate a auto number based on your configuration. We'll see this. For example, this will have four numbers. The seed value will be 1000. It means it will start from the 1000. It will start increment in one by one, and I can say, let's say let's say if I want for each account I want to create an account number. Let's do this actually. So what I will do is I can simply say account number. Actually I have account number. Let's say this is my ID, I call anything. So and I say let's call it SEC. So you see it will automatically create the account number based on this value. I can increase the length, I can make it, let's say 6, it will change, it will start with a 0, so on. So if I change it to like this, so it will be like this now. So again, if I start with the 1, it will go like 0001 and on, so on. Okay.
Even though, Wahad, you can check the auto number type also, where you have the prefix number. If you can see the
Yeah,
searchable
sorry. Yes,
after
yes.
search.
I forgot to show this. String is the prefix number. We can as a date prefix number. If we change this, you see, it will take the date and do this, and you can select the format. So there are multiple configurations you can do here. So here and again, there's custom. Here you can add some of the formats using some, Excel-like formulas, but you we can get this from
Just like a
yeah,
prefix, in between
prefix
you have a
or
auto number,
anything.
then
I
you
mean,
have a
if
suffix, so you can have your own auto numbering on it.
yeah. So if I mean any of this doesn't work for you, string or date type, you can add your custom. I mean you can use another field in this to make it more unique if you want to. For example, you have a requirement that based on account type we should have a number called ACC hyphen account type hyphen then a unique number and then date. So that kind of things we can do here. We can select a okay here particular sequence. Okay.
And one more tip is there, whenever you are deciding the auto number, so it's better if you can take the opinion from the business user, means what type of the auto numbering they want in terms of the formation, because might be possible it is going to be used for the output or it is going to be used for the internal reference. So it's always be a better practice whenever you generate auto numbering, just consult with the particular business users so that you can get it there, means how the, let's take example of account number, it should be generated, or how the invoice number will be generated, or let's say opportunity number should be generated. So it should be kind of the because once it is set it up, you are not going to change it again because it will remain as is. So that's the main tip. It would be helpful for you.
Yeah, okay. So again, now there is some advanced option. We can enable security and auditing, but again, this session will cover only the basics of creating a field. So I'll just turn it off and you can see one thing we need to see is about the length. I can change the length as per my, requirement. For example, let's say this one is uh, 10 plus 11 plus 3, which is 14, right? Or I can select here 15. So it won't allow any character more than 15. Okay, so let me create this one. That's it. Once you add it, but the field will be there, but it is still not saved. You need to click on the save table. Then it will be added to the columns, but still it will not be published. So any change you do here will not be visible on the application side unless you do publish. Okay,
And even it is not
let it
added in the
save.
form. So first it's needed to be added in the
Yeah,
relevant form.
yes, yes, yes. Sure, sure. Okay, so for now, what we've done is we just created a column. Let it load, or let me do one thing. Let me say custom. You see, now we see our custom. It's easy to filter. Okay, at this point, there is nothing. We need to add it to a form so we can view it. Otherwise, we don't see it. So I click on a form. I click on the main account form. We'll come to the forms in a bit. So here I can search for the column that I want, and I can drag and drop simply here to uh, show it. I can again search using like ID, it should show me, or I can go to the custom and it should show all the custom available. So what I'll do is for now I will just add it here. Simple. Once I add it again, I have to do a save. Once I save it, I can then publish. Okay. We can also create the field from this window. This is another way. Okay. I click on publish. It will take a while, and then once we come here after publish, it should show in the accounts form.
In a
This
bit
this
in between, let's take a one question here. So as
Yeah,
soon as
sure.
going to publish,
Please tell
so
me.
firstly he asked related to, does Microsoft allow us to make changes in their standard forms, any change in its DB or form or report, or you just add a separate form report in the system? Yes,
No, you can
Microsoft
do.
supports.
You can
Yes, you
change.
can add it. Means if it is a customizable, means it totally depends on the type of or nature of that particular form or a table or entity. You can do the modification if it is the customizable. If you guess check is allowed. And in most of the business scenarios, let's say the forms that are going to be used for the transaction purpose as well as for the master data, they are changeable. Means you want to add or remove fields, you want to change the complete form, or you want to add a form, even the fields, you can do it. You can manage. You can do the modification as per your need. But in terms of the fields, the only the characteristics that you can change it. Let's take example of the name, because in the system field the name might be possible, the type is text, and the data type or length is defined in a, you can say, in terms of the numbers. I mean, how much character can be stored there. So you can change the settings in terms of numbers. Let's say how much characters or how much you can data can be input, but the type cannot be changed. To cater that particular requirement, you would require to create another custom field for this particular scenario. Yes, Vaj, if you
Yeah,
have
so
any
the data
particular
type you
question.
cannot change. That
Yes.
is for sure. And the length you can control. And there
And
are some settings, for example, date, some formats cannot be changed once the field is created. It's
exactly.
not
And
only with the Microsoft field, it's
hmm,
even if you are creating your own field, the type cannot be changed later on. So the only solution is you delete and recreate if you want to do it with the same name. Otherwise,
exactly.
you can create a new field.
Exactly. And one more thing, the system that system columns or system, you can say the fields can't be removed or deleted.
Yes,
You
no,
can
it
hide
cannot
them,
be.
you can ignore them,
I mean,
but
you
you
can
can't
remove
delete
it
it.
from the form, you can remove it from the views, most of them, but you cannot remove it from the database or table itself. So if, for example, if I go here and I say all and I pick up, let's say this account number, which is a text field created out default, you see, I cannot delete. It doesn't even allow me. Okay. Similarly, if I go ahead and try to change it to auto number, and what I can do is I can only do this. Otherwise, I cannot change the data type to, let's say, an integer. You see, I cannot change it to a date. That's not possible. Okay. So coming back to the things that we did, we added a. Okay. Firstly, one more thing. You see, in the forms, these are the system forms. So I can go ahead and add the fields here, change the fields here. So these kind of customizations you can do to the existing components. So wherever you are not allowed, Microsoft will make it, undoable, or they will guide the developer that this is something you cannot do. So you see, this is the out of the box system form, and I've done it. So I'll just switch it. I think I need to switch the form. It's on account form. Okay, so now you see the ID is there. Because it's an old record, this will not be updated. So the outer number will always start with the new records, like any sequence. So if I create a demo and simply hit save, you see this is all automatically generated again. Okay, now before we move ahead, now let's go back and understand some more things in the table. Once we only saw for now the text fields, right? So I'll come back here. Let me do at column. So let's look at the types again. So we have text types where we can choose a plain text or a text area, which is multi-line. Then these are some formats of the text field like email, URL, ticker symbol, phone, and then outer number we see is a special type which creates a sequence number based on your configuration. Then we have whole number, which uh, is an integer. I mean, it will not have any kind of floating point or fraction. So it will be a whole number. Like you can type 1, 2, 3, but you cannot type 1.5 here in these kind of uh, fields. Okay. The whole number can also be formatted as a duration, which is like 15 minutes, 30 minutes. It's a special again format to the whole number field. Then it could be also a time zone, because on the back end always time zone is stored as an integer number. So on front end you will see it's user can select a time zone, but actually back end it's a whole number. Then the language also, because language is it's a code. For example, English is has a uh, code 1033, and Arabic has 1025. So you on the front end it will be formatted, so user will always say English or US EN and AREN or so on. So sorry, you AEAR. I mean United Arab Emirates Arabic, but on the back end it will always store the code which is a standard. Okay. Then we have date, and date have two types, which is again the type is same. It will be created a date time column in the SQL server or the backend, but the format could be the date only or date and time. So it is very clear. The date and time will also allow you to capture the time, and date only will also only allow the date part. One more, there is few more settings with the date and time, which is like you can see if user can, which kind of time zone will be selected and so on. We'll see this. Okay. Then we have choice and choices, which is very interesting. Looks same, right? But only one S is different. So choice is a list or is a drop down list you normally call it. You can select any of the one value, only one value from a choice. Choices is a multi select drop down where you can add select one or more values. Okay. Then, okay, this on the back end is stored in a very different manner. We have full choices metadata table available, which is hidden from you. It won't be shown like this in this list, I guess. But it's an implementation like there is another table which stores the lists and then assign a particular value. So for you to understand, we'll create one and we'll see that it again the choice will have one label and one integer value. So the integer value is something which is stored as a backend and the label is shown to the user. And programmatically, you always play with the numbers. Okay. So currency is the special type which is in the backend is created as decimal. Decimal is SQL Server data type which allows you to create you enter values with decimals also with fractions and everything. So now one thing special about it is it will also have contain the currency symbol with it. And when you have multi-currency environment, so it will create two columns for you. One will be the base and one will be the column to have converted value. So one will always contain your base currency value. For example, if you configured it in your base currency as US dollars, it will always show US dollars. Once if you also added a Europe or Euro currency, so and if you're creating an opportunity with Euro, so it will have two column it on the back end actually. So one is known as base, which will store your USD amount, and the other will have the converted based on your conversion rate euro value. Okay, customer is a special type. We'll discuss this later. I don't want to do this now because this is part of lookup. We'll do relationships and then we'll cover this. Okay, similarly, we can just have a decimal number, which means you can could store any decimal number in this file. You can attach a file which will be stored as a blob, or you could say binary. The data will be converted as a base 64 or binary data that will be stored in the database. Floating point number, as it is clear, this is a float. Then image, you can upload an image, and again, it's backend. The base 64 is stored. Lookup is a special type. We see it's actually relationship. So you can add a reference, or you could say foreign key of parent table. So we'll cover this in relationships. Then multi-line text. This will actually uh, create a multi-line text box, and then yes no field, which is actually boolean in other terms. Boolean, or we also call it two options, and choice is known as option set in classic interface. Okay, too much I know, but don't get confused. Let's go one by one, because once we play with each kind of fields, then you will understand. So for now, let's go back to our scenario and finish that. Okay, so what I did was I can go ahead and updated added the field, change the form here. This is okay, but let's say I want to now take this field from this environment to the production. What I will do, I cannot deploy all of this again. This is already there. So you always take the change set. And how you take the change set? You need to package your changes in a solution. Okay. So as a best practice, you should always create a solution first. This what I did was just for demo purposes. I do not recommend to do this. So what it does this is changes the default solution. Default solution means which comes out of the box. So there is always a default solution. You can go ahead and add. and play with it, that's not a problem. But it is always a best practice to create solutions and do whatever is required in that solution, so that it will help you to manage and then distribute it to other environments. Okay, so now we'll complete the scenario from the solutions the correct way. So what we'll do is, you see we have a solutions tab here. This will show you all the solutions which were installed by Microsoft or any other solution, or even your solutions. You see, this is a default solution. If I click on it, it will have all the components available in the system, whether it's customizable or not customizable. If it is not customizable or changeable, the system won't allow you. But if it is, you can do changes and publish it. So I'll go back. Similarly, by default, Microsoft has installed some of the solutions depending upon your license. Like Sales Insights is part of, I believe, Premium, so it will only come with the Premium license, so on. What I can go do is, now I can create a new solution. Okay, solution has actually, I would say just three or four interesting fields here. There are more, but we'll cover these first. So display name, again, it depends on your requirement. It could be a unique number. It could be something which clarifies what is this part. It could be a name of module or so on. For now, let's say I wanted to add, we were talking about dunce number, so I will say dunce number solution. Okay. This name cannot have space. This is the, you could say, physical name of the solution. This can be changed later also. This is just a display name. Most of the things in Dynamics 365 or database will have a display name and the actual name. Okay. This cannot be changed later. This can be changed after we save it. Okay. Publisher, you can select the default permission. Always you will have a CDS or Dataverse default publisher. So CDS is actually Common Data Service. Now it is renamed to Dataverse. I'm not sure when Microsoft is gonna rename the publisher also, but it's same thing. Then this is also a default publisher created for you. You can use it, but I would recommend to create a new publisher. So what we do is, based on vendors, we create publisher, and if we're working in-house, so we'll create the publisher as, company's name. So for example, here I'll take as, let's say, D4 Dynamics as the display name. It can have spaces. This one won't, but again, I'll keep the same. Vendor something. Okay. This prefix is important. So whatever you create in the system, any component, its actual name or physical name will be prefixed with this. Let's see, if I create a field called dunce number, it will be created as new underscore dunce number. So if I create a table called, let's say, employee, it will be created as new underscore employee. So this usually helps you identify which component is added by which customer. Because let's say we are creating multiple solutions from multiple vendors or for multiple vendors. So what happens in account entity, two solutions were installed and there were two vendors. So once, if everyone has their own prefix, it's easy to identify who did what, and this makes it more sensible. So I will use the prefix T4D here. Okay. Now choice value prefix. So this is, I said, when you create, this is was just seen a while. So whenever you add a choice, it will have a unique value behind the scenes. So let's say if I create a drop down called silver, gold, platinum. So silver is a label, but maybe in the backend I can have one. Or by default, Microsoft says you use a prefix from vendor, like this publisher. So what will happen? It will start from the 77028. Then you can add then another option that will have 2930, so on. You can change this. Why we do this? If multiple vendors are working on the same fields and you import a solution, it should not override any existing value, because the values are numbers and numbers. If someone also has created 77028, or let's say one, so it will be overridden. So Microsoft has said always use between these two values. Don't start with one or any, like even 100 it won't say. See. So let's say for our I'll start with the 4 4100. Let's say I'll use this as an example. So let's make it one. Okay. So it shows me the preview that your object will be created something like this. Okay, you can again do it any, you can add more also if you want, but usually we use 2 or 3 digit prefix because otherwise the name becomes too long. If I say, let's say D for dynamic, so this will not look nice, so I use this. Okay, and again 41001. Okay, this is the contact information. You can add your contact information as a vendor, but it is not required. So I'll save it. So the publisher will be created. Okay. Now once you create a solution, you need to select a publisher. So I go ahead and select this solution publisher. Then I select the version. This is not TFS kind of thing. You have to manually enter the version for now. So you can do it in any convention you want. You can add one more zero here if you want. Sorry, you can start with a zero like this. System won't say anything, but usually we start with this, and this is actually is the same, like it's a build number, like start from the major, minor and fakes and so on. You can define your own strategy also. There are some more options. Once installed will tell you what when it was installed. You can have a custom configuration page, let's say support page if you are solution provider, but for now just skip it, and you see by default it will create it as a unmanaged solution. So any solution that you create first time, it will be unmanaged. So whenever you distribute it, at that time you will explain if it is a managed solution, which means it is ready to release, or otherwise you can export as unmanaged. So by default it will be created as unmanaged. So I'll create the solution. So once I create a solution, it's actually pretty much a blank canvas for me. So I go ahead and you see it will have nothing. There is no component available. Now what I can do, I can add tables or fields and views in it, and only add whatever is required in this particular solution. So I can add new, I can add a table. I can add reports, dashboard, apps. Will cover what is app and automation later, and then many more web resources and more stuff. Okay. So for now, we won't add any new table. We'll choose an existing table because we want to enhance or customize account table. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead, select table. Okay. I will select account. You can search. I will select account. You can add multiple at the same time, but I only need account for now. I'll say next. Now, by default, it will say no component selected, which means whatever is available existing in the account, it will not be added here. Okay. So what I will do is I will say, okay, fine. For now, I don't include any component. Then I'll show you what does it mean after this. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so the table is added. There is nothing in this table, just a reference of the table is added. There is no column, there is no business rule, there are no relationships, no views. So why we do this, why we don't add any component? Because when we are moving from one environment to other, we only want to take whatever we have changed. So it's always best to add whatever is required. Do not add everything. One, it will make the solution bulky. When I say bulky, it when you export and import in another system, it will take time. It will have conflicts with existing fields and all so on. That will be there. Another problem is whenever you publish anything that you do not have, any unwanted change can also be published. So always add whatever is required. That's one tip, but again you can select anything also. For now, let's add whatever we want. I'm not going to add any existing component. First of all, we need a new field called dunce number, or for before that in our scenario we had formation date. So we say formation, sorry guys, yes, okay. So I'll say formation date. Okay, this field, the actual field or physical name is automatically created, but you want to change, you can do that. You can type anything here, so it will allow you. as far as it's a proper name. Okay, so for this example, yes, it's a text field. We go with the text field. Is it required or not? This is requirement level. Required means you won't able to save a record unless you fill this field. Okay, recommended means it will show a plus sign. If I go on the account entity, you see this asterisk means this is required. If I remove this and try to save, you say sorry guy, you need to add something here. Okay, so recommended field is interestingly we don't have any recommended field on the form. That's okay. So recommended field will just show a small plus here. We'll add it and see. It means it is not required. The system will not validate it, but it's recommended by the system configurator that it should be some value should be added there. Why? Maybe it is shown in a report or it is valuable. For example, I make the website as recommended, so it will show a small plus. So it's easier for user to understand that this is something important. It is not required maybe at this stage, but I should fill it. So it will have more value to the business. So that kind of things we select as recommended. Optional means there is no option. I'm sorry, there is no requirement level. It's not required. You can save or create a record without selecting any data in this field, or in other words it can be null or empty. Okay, so for now I'll keep it as optional because this is something that can be added at any time, so that's okay. I don't want to make it required. Okay, this section we will not cover now. So there is something called you can calculate the field value instead of user input. Right now it will be an open text field where user can, sorry, open date field, guys. This has to be date. Sorry, my bad. It will be only date only because formation date is date. Okay. So or otherwise you can either derive its value or calculate its value based on a formula, but that is not part of today's scope, so we leave it. This description, this will help sometimes, a user to understand what is this. I'll show you how it is shown. Capture the formation date of the okay, then we have some advanced form options. We'll skip it for today. Okay, for date fields we have some special yes, behavior and okay. So this means I'll just show you. So in the date field, when you only select date only, you can select a behavior, which means what time, if it is time based, what time it will store. Will it store user local time or server time? So this kind of settings you can control only. For us, we are okay with the date only. That means the time part will always be 000. There will be no time. So again, you can play with this. You can create its time zone independent, but uh, let's not
There
focus
is a
on
just like
this
a one
today.
clarification here in the behavior. Actually, in the behavior, normally on the back end, system stores the data in UTC time zone. So whatever you
Yep.
are going to put any information in the date time field, so system keep in the UTC, and by the time the user is going to open up the record, it will show up in the user format, means whatever the time zone is there. To override the information, or let's say you want to stick with the specifically for the date, because might be possible if you're using the user local, so it's mean system is going to translate or transform the time on the time zone base. So it's recommended, if whenever you are going to use for the date field, go with the date only. Otherwise, you have the option time zone independent. So it means regardless whatever the time zone system user is going to have it, so system will take the UTC time for that one.
Okay, one thing I want to also clarify here, because I don't wanted to go into detail today, but just to clarify, let's say this is the formation date and the company was formatted on 1st January, let's say 2020. Okay, so I'll add that data in the field. If it is date only, this should be okay. Anywhere, wherever your user is and whatever his system time is, it doesn't matter. It will always show as 1st Jan 2020. But if you are selecting if you have selected the user local, it will convert the date as per their time zone. Let's say if it is we are before there is a time that for us it's today is 27. In some places of the world it is still 26. Their day is not started yet, right? So that will make a difference. So some user will complain we see 26, some will say 27. So this is critical, but again I won't too much force on this for today, because once you, by the way, just remember one thing: if you change the behavior to date only, I guess you cannot switch it back. So there is a full documentation available, and Microsoft has provided all the behavior and their outcomes there. We can cover it in a, I guess, in a separate session. That's what I will think. So for now,
Just one,
let's say
yeah,
we'll use
just
the
one
data only.
clarification here. There is a one, you'll see the IME mode.
Yes.
So it's just like an input characters. So as you know that the East Asian languages, in the especially
Yes.
for the Japanese and the Chinese, so they have the special characters or they are the formation is different. So you have the option that either you can use it auto mode, means system will detect automatically what keyboard they are using and what kind of the keys they are putting there. Or you have the option that you can also disable this functionality, or you can put it in active or inactive. So these are the permission you can use if you have a very specialized input mechanism and you want to monitor that particular, or it means you want to restrict the user to put the data in a specific language.
Okay. Now let's do one thing. Let's go back. Uh, Now just to show you how easy it is, just click here. Just say I did it for a purpose, on a purpose. Formation date. I copy pasted the description. I need it as a date only. Uh, that's it. Just do it. Don't think about anything else. That's it. The field is added. Now either you can save table, it will create the field actually in the table, or you can add first all the required columns and then do save, which makes more sense, right? So I'll go ahead. Next field I need is say register, not say register with dunce. It's, I will take it as a yes no option. Okay, and once you do it yes no, I can select how I want, what options we want, yes or no. So I can say yes no, right? Or I can, if I want to, I say registered, or say not registered or not yet. I'm just taking it just for fun purpose. And what would be the default value? It will be not yet or registered. So I say not yet is the default value. I can change any one of these. Again, required. Yes, this one I want to make it required because at least one of these values should be selected, I think. By the way, if you have a default value, so it will be automatically populated for the new records, but existing it will show star, and whenever you try to save it, it will ask you to first select this value. Okay, let's again skip everything else and let's say let's do one more. Yeah, that's it, done. Okay, one more field we need, the actual dunce number field. I said dunce number, it's a text field. What I'll do is I'll just select the field to 50 because I think it's already enough, we don't need more. So I'll say done. Okay. Okay, just one thing, I would like to give some space here so it looks nice. Just display name, so don't worry about it. Okay, now if I say save table, it will go ahead and create the fields with you. I mean, creates a field for you. Okay, cool. Okay, now to use these fields, we need to add it to a form. Once I click on the form, you see nothing here, right? So what we need to do is we need to add a form. Either we can create a new form or we can use an existing form, because we are using, let's say our company uses already this account form, so we don't need to create a new form. What we can do is for now click on add sub components. We are not, once we click here it will add a new blank form where you need to add all the fields. Once I click add sub components, it will say what components you want. These are all the components you can start add when you are creating a solution, or you can add it later as soon as you require it, which is something I really like. So I do it always, after, because once I need it I add it. So I will use the account form. I'll just add. So now what happens, it will add the form to also See, everything else is empty, the only forms will be there on one form, not all forms. So when we move this now to another system, it will only take these changes. Okay, now I go ahead, open this form. Okay, there are a lot of things we need to cover on the forms, but what I'm trying to do is first in today's session, I'm just trying to show you how easily you can do some customization. But definitely in the upcoming session, we'll go into the more details like what are these things, how this summary detail or files thing come. So in just to tell you, this is these are called the tabs, and tabs have multiple sections. So this is summary tab. Summary have this section. You account information section. You see, you can add more sections and change the layout you want to, right? So for now, let's say I just want one more section here in the details tab, because that means, or let's add it for now, let's add it to the summary form. I say add one more component called, I'll click on the component and it asks you want to add a tab or a section or any of these things. I say no. For now, just give me a one column section and I will drag it here, somewhere here. Okay, we have a new section. Once I click on the section, I can change the label. I can say done info. Okay, I can, for better understanding, rename it, but it is not required. Why? This is the name that will be used programmatically to hide, show, or play with these tabs using JavaScript. But for now, we can skip it if we want. But as a best practice, I always to give some meaningful name so it's easier to manage later, right? Again, it shows this label done info. If I click here, it won't show the label, it will be an empty, without label. Then if I say hide, it won't show. Why we hide it? Maybe some sections we want to show based on a field value, so we can add a business role to show hide. So by default we'll make it hide. Then log, that means no one can edit it. Okay, it's actually logged on the form, so we'll discuss it later. Then formatting, how many if I click on here, it will have two columns. Yeah, I mean you can add two fields like one and two. For now, let's do it one column. So that's how we add a section. Okay, but again, there's a lot more things we need to play on sections and tabs. So for now, skip it. Now I go to the fields. Let's filter by custom. I have these fields. Once I need the formation date, which I will add here, let's say, because that's not related to duns. Okay, next I will add is registered with duns and then the duns number. Okay, cool. Okay, you see, because it is required, it is registered, it shows a star option. Okay, let's save it. I won't publish it for a reason. Okay, once you, if you publish it, the changes will be visible to the end user. So it's always good that you complete all of your customizations and then publish. So it won't have any, ambiguities for the user, because otherwise it might have some half cooked features. Okay, now one thing I want to change here is I will go back to the formation date and I say no, this should be optional. This is fine. Sorry, Duns number is something as per my business requirement. It should be recommended. I mean, it's not required, but it's always better to save it. Okay, so now I save table. Okay, now once this part is done, what I will do is I will simply go to the solution, to the overview tab. Okay, and publish. So whatever changes I have, or I have done in this particular solution, or you say whatever is available as a component in this particular solution, I can publish it. So once I publish it, I don't have to go one by one. Let's say if I have 10 tables in it, I can just do all the publishing at once. But if you want, you can always do one by one also, if that makes sense for you. Let's say if you have only done some small change in only account form, you can only publish the form. Okay. It is publishing, it will take a while. let's give it a. So in on the back end, what happens? It will okay. Whenever you add any component in the system or do any changes, it is not actually uh, replicated to the actual copy of the table or form. So what in the back end happens? I'm just telling you as an insight. It creates uh, modified copies based on versions in the table. So first of all, for any conventional application, let's say UI will have a file, right? It will have HTML, or if it is a ASP.NET application, there will be a page for based on, I mean, physical page will be there, ASPX page, right? And then backend will have their own DLLs and database, so on. In this particular environment, what happens? Everything, most of the things are always stored in a database. So what happens? This form is actually not a physical file. It's a fetch. It's a we call it layout XML. It is an XML which is stored for this record. So what happens? This is actually record in the database. So what? Whenever you go here and open up a particular record, it goes into the database, reads the XML, and then loads it all of this information. So that's what happens whenever I do any change. It will keep storing it in a draft mode. Once I publish it, then it will go ahead and change the XML for the actual published version. So then you will see the change. So this is one thing. All the forms, all the fields, everything is stored in the database as metadata. So there are, I don't know why it is taking too much time, but let's wait. Let's see if we have, yeah, it's already there. Maybe it's a refresh problem here. Yeah, it's
Yes,
already
loading.
done.
Yes.
Okay, great. So now you see we have this here on the account form. Okay, I'll come to this, by the way, why we have multiple forms. Okay. So formation date is there. You can go ahead and select anything, right? And there is no time because we only selected date. Okay. So this one is shown as not yet unregistered. We can do it. And then dunce number, we can capture 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, whatever, because it's a text field. This is done. So you don't written any line of code yet, right? So this is already functional. Now there are some more things, improvements we can do. So what I know I'm exceeding time. Just give me 10 more minutes and then maybe we'll wrap up today's session and we'll move on. Okay. If you have any concerns, let me know. Okay. So it makes more sense to show it as a radio button, right? So we can do that. What I will do now, I will go back to my solution. I will simply go to the form if it loads. Okay, cool. Okay, so now I can go ahead and change its look and feel for this field. Okay, so I'll click here and you see this one, and here are some settings similar to the section we have hide and lock and read only. So read only means it will not be editable anymore. Okay, then we have formatting and components. I believe this has been changed in this particular version. Just one second. I think to convert it to radio button, now we have to select a control as far as I remember. Yeah, this one, toggle. Sorry guys, because there are too many changes being made to the interface. Okay, so this will show something like this. You see, it's a toggle button. So why we have this component here? Now you can have your custom controls also. I told you in the first session, I mean the last session, which was PCF control. So you can add, let's say, a checkbox kind of thing here also. You can create your own component. So by default there's Microsoft given some of the components which is kind of controls. Okay, so I'm changing it to this so it looks much better. So I will save it. Now I have two options. I can go back and publish all the settings again, I mean all the components again, but because I know I have only done this, so after save I should publish this. This will take less time, less load on the system. So yeah, this makes again more sense. While it's publishing, I want to show you one more thing here. Okay, you see this one. This is something we call form selector. So you can have multiple forms for an entity. It for multiple reasons. If you have different businesses, for each business you can create different forms, so it will have different layouts. For example, this is the out of the box account form. This is sales insights form, which is also out of the box, but it will look slightly different. It will have some more features. Then if I go for multi-session experience, let's not cover it. Okay, interactive experience. So what happens, let's say if you have two one is a marketing, another is sales. Sales want to see more of opportunity and quote information, so I can create a separate form for them, and I will only show some basic account information with the total number of sales and so on. Sorry, a list of accounts, opportunities and cases. For marketing, I will only show the total, like total number of orders, because they are on more concerned with the summarized data, so I can create different user. Second, you can control security also. Let's say as some of the user, I just want them to see the basic information, or I only update some basic information. For some super users or managers, they want them to assign some quota or target also, so I create a separate there are many uses. Again, we'll cover it in a separate or next session. We'll create, because there are multiple types to forms also. This is what we see on the web is known as main form. Then there are mobile forms, there are quick view forms. So there are multiple types. Today I guess we don't have time to cover all of this, so I'll just show you this last thing, and then maybe we can wrap up and take some questions. See, it looks so good. Actually, I wanted to do one more thing today, but I guess it will take more time. So, and we'll cover in the next session. I mean, as a user perspective, I guess the dunce number should only show once this is on. Otherwise, it should hide. So these kind of things we do with the business rule. If you say, I can just quickly do this actually. If you have any concern, please stop me if you have getting late or something. It should not take more than 5 minutes. So I'll go to the business rules. There is like columns and forms and views. Dashboard. We have a business rule. It is very simple. You click on the business rule. So business rules are a way to make the form more interactable. So I can, like what we can do is, let's say I click here. I say, based on a condition, I can do some actions. So without writing code, I say this is my condition. What is the condition? I will take the field from this entity. Let's say is registered with Duns. I say whenever it is registered. Okay. I click on the true. This is true and false part, like if else, true false. So in the true case, I will click here. I can do some actions. I can add some recommendation. I can lock unlock a field. I can show some error message, set some default value, set business required, which is I can make it required, and set visibility. So what I will do is, in this case, I'll do two things. First of all, I'll uh, sorry. Yes. So what I'm going to do is, sorry, not field value. My bad. I can delete this step like this easily. So what I will do is I will say, come on, business required. Yes. So what we'll do, we'll make this field, which field? Dunce number required. So if it is registered, that's what we said, right? In the condition. Uh, Sorry, I think something was not saved. So my bad. Sorry, guys. So I need to say is registered with dunce equals registered. I need to click on apply. Okay. Now, if it is registered, you do what? You make which field apply? Dunce number. Make it required and please click apply. Otherwise, it won't save. Okay. So this is one. And on the false part, I will like to do the reverse of this. So what I will do is I will set business required here. I will say the dunce number. Let's not make it not business required. And one more step. Uh, yeah, I think that's all for today. That's because I can also do like lock unlock if you want to. That looks more uh, interactive. Let's say if I say add lock unlock, I'll add. In this case, I will the number will be locked. In this case, or the dunce number field will be unlocked. Cool. So this we save. This we save. Okay, we can give some useful display names also. So this makes more sense here. We can do that. So we can simply save it and then validate. It will validate if you have not, set anything which is required here. And then we can click on activate. So what it will do, okay, if it is deactivated, it will not run. If it is activated, it will start working. So you'd say it's a way to enable it. Okay, we have something. Yes, activate, please. So as soon as this is done, and I will refresh, I guess. If I've done this correctly, it should work. Okay, so you see this is required. If I do this, this is logged and not required. So ideally it will be for a new record, it will be, or for a, where we have not set, it will be something like, yeah, like this, empty. So when I say yes, now we can edit it. Hello, 01. See, I mean, again, no code, we can do a lot more. So I guess, yeah, let's stop here for today's session. And in the next
Mm.
session, we will see more details on the forms, on the views and solutions. And we'll
Just
do all of
one
this.
point, Haj,
Yes.
related to the business rules. So there is a
Yes.
scoping that you can also define in the
No,
business rule.
Adnan, the thing is actually today's session, I just wanted to keep it very basic. There are,
No, no
I
problem. Yeah,
understand
sounds
this.
okay.
Yeah.
Next week
Because
we will
then
discuss.
they will get confused. What is entity form? Because once they see what is form level, how we can create multiple forms, then it will make more sense. So
Yeah,
I
sounds perfect.
kept it simple for now. So, I mean, just wanted to, my basic idea was today you need to see how easily you can do some basic stuff. And this is not that basic. I mean, most of the steps will be like this. Yes, there are more configuration other than unmentioned. There are scopes for business rule. There are form types. There are fields, special fields. Then some best practices we should follow, but that definitely you earn with the practice and experience. So let's take some questions if you have any for now.
And in the meanwhile, let me just share my screen to just wrap up the session.
So guys, I mean, at least give some feedback if you have not already worked on this system. If you have already developed something, I know it will look very basic to you. But if you're new to this system, I think I should like love to hear some feedback. Like, do you think it's easy and interesting?
Now, for that one, we have some poll. So let me just run the poll to see how it works.
Good.
So let me just start a quick poll about the feedback. So let it be open. Okay, so where's my poll? So
Please
here
send me.
you
I
go.
will also vote for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, first question, it is going to start appearing on your screen. Did you start practice on Dynamic 365? So, means up till now, whatever the topics that we have covered. So, anyone has started? So, question number one.
Sorry, the last one I've selected. What do I need to practice? Ah, Lord Python. Just kidding. Wow, all of this seriously. All of these polls says okay, 33% is this. Okay, 67 say yes. Wow. So
So,
we
it's
have a
me.
greater
There are a
audience
couple of
over
people.
here.
What
Okay.
do I need to like good? That's okay. Okay, so there is another question that we are going to place. Do you need assistance in setting up D365 trial or test environment so that we can take a poll on it? If it is yes, then we can set up a call or you can say session separately. So, maximum people. No, it's mean nothing is required.
That's good.
Two
Okay,
people
so
who need the assistance. If you can give us the name, the people who need the assistance, just type your name, or you can say put it in the chat. What we will do, we will set up another session by, you can say, next week. A separate, just like a quick session. So where we are just going to go through about how the demo environment, or you can say the trial instance, can be set it up. So it will not take more than 30 minutes or 45 minutes. We will wrap up it in this scenario. Okay, so now there is another one. How do you rate today's session?
excellent.
But there is excellent, and they have to put the justification also. There should be one
Okay.
note here.
Yeah, where to
What
put
they
the
like.
justification? I'll put justification. Here's my justification. Why I'm doing this is, I mean, I see very less response. That's why.
Sounds perfect.
ये काम
Okay.
भी हम कर लेते हैं.
Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. Okay, Uzair,
Okay, was that?
he's saying that the Urdu in the session, yes, it will be planned by third week of Feb. I need to plan it. So let's see by next week or third week of Feb. So I need to decide when we are going to set it up a call. So it will be, means everyone will be informed by the time that we are going to do it. Okay, so next session that we are going to cover. Yes, Wahaj, if you can
Okay, so
explain,
the
we are
thing
going to
is, because
cover.
I knew first of all we have a lot of on our plate today, so we'll eat some of it in the next session. I mean, we'll do the same guess because we have some more. I have two more scenarios, so similar things but with more details. So we'll create tables, we'll create forms, custom forms, views, and we'll explain more about and anything that was missed today, like scopes and form types, we'll cover there in
Yeah,
the next
exactly.
session.
So it will be a more into the practice, or you can say the
Yeah.
real time action. Instead of we
So
will
what
start with the
I'm planning
configuration.
is like based on the scenario, I will first ask your suggestion what should be done here, because at least I mean you have some idea, so we'll do it. It will be more interactive session.
Perfect, perfect. Sounds okay. So there he wants the Dil Diya Galla session. Wahaj, what do you say? Should we arrange another session, Dil Diya Galla?
I think let us do this on Tuesday, this session, and after that
This
we'll do.
session, and also let's complete the development session now. Mean the development series.
Hmm.
Then afterwards, we can plan after, you can say, the end of February or beginning of the March. We can plan something session on
Hmm.
just like an open topic.
So what I say is, yeah, I think that's okay. You're saying, yeah, that's fine. Or maybe
Sound
what I'm saying is if because see the all the basics of development are in these sections, the forms, fields, business rules, you know. So in that case, I think if these guys will need, we can have a session where we can do some more practice and dil diya gallan wala, you know, things. But again, let's stick to the plan for now, and we'll
Yeah,
get the feedback on Tuesday. Let's see.
perfect, perfect. So I think it's good to conclude the session on a good note, and really appreciate. Thank you, Wahaj, for your assistance and for all the presentation. And thanks everyone for being part of this live event. If you have any question, please feel free to reach out to both of us. And see you next week, inshallah. May God bless you.